Hey guys, welcome back to that sports stuff video. Today we'll be talking about the New England Patriots and their offseason plan pre-NFL Combine. That's right, it is part 4 of this series. So I'm trying to rush this video a little bit. Um, it's been a rough couple of days. I've been trying to finish my basement. Like literally, I'm putting the walls up. I'm gonna run the electrical myself, put the drywall up, try and put the carpet and the flooring down. Like I'm trying to completely finish my basement. So that's been my main focus. I do apologize, but I do love and appreciate the support you guys have for this series. It means so much to me. I mean, this series is the best viewership consistently wise of the last 5 years. It means so much to me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's get into episode 4 of the 2025 offseason plan pre-NFL Combine. So starting off with the New England Patriots, their cuts/trades before any of them, they're at $120 million cap space, which I believe is number 1 in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken. But $120 million, new head coach Mike Vrabel. The reason I didn't have a head coach and like staff slide yet is Mike Vrabel hasn't hired any coordinators, right? No offensive coordinator, no defensive coordinator. So I don't know what type of offense they're going to run, what type of defense they're going to run. All I can know is Mike Vrabel and how he plays football. And that's how I'm kind of building this offseason plan. So let's get into this video, man. I'm so excited. First off, I'm going to be trading Kyle Duggar. Kyle Duggar, 64 tackles, 0 interceptions. He had 141.3 passer rating allowed when targeted. He took a massive step back this last year. DeMarcus Covington did not know how to use him, the Patriots defensive coordinator under Maye. He was once one of my favorite safeties in the league and in the draft, but again, he's just fallen off. Like, Marte Mapu is right behind him, and he might be a little better than he is right now. He could stay as they have a lot of cap. You don't need to trade him. But I think maybe Vrabel could fix him. But I think there's a lot of teams in the NFL that might want to trade like a 4th-round pick for Kyle Duggar. But I did not put that into my mock draft. As you guys know, whenever I do a trade or a cut, if the trade is a trade, I always add that pick to the mock draft. But I actually don't think they're going to trade him, so I didn't add a draft pick into the mock draft. But I do think they're going to trade him. I do think it's very possible. But I think Mike Vrabel could keep him as a chess piece. But again, I do think he's going to get traded, but I didn't want to, make up a trade that's not actually going to happen. So I just added the money into the cap space. I did not add a pick into my mock draft. Next, we have Kendrick Bourne. I do think he's going to get cut. This past year, had 28 receptions, 305 yards, and a touchdown. He's coming off a pretty serious injury. I believe he tore his ACL last year. He's been a light in this really bad wide receiver room for the last couple of years. He's really gone and been the Patriot way wide receiver of the Tom Brady era. He could stick around as a vet. Again, they have a lot of money. They don't need to cut him, but he is getting paid a lot of money for the production he's been giving them. Use that money to get a true number 1 wide receiver. That's $6.3 million you can throw into one of the top wide receivers in the free agency market. Or you keep Kendrick Bourne and then you still sign another wide receiver. That could be, the option as well. But I did decide to cut Kendrick Bourne. He's like 31 years old, coming off a torn ACL, and his contract is about to expire after this upcoming year. Saves $6.3 million against the cap. Next, we have Juwan Bentley, the linebacker. This past season, 6 tackles, 1 sack in 60 snaps. Again, he got hurt after week 1. Another guy that's been part of the Patriots for his entire career, basically. I could see Vrabel liking him as a key piece. Mike Vrabel, former linebacker. Juwan Bentley is the captain on this defense. Linebacker. He could be the vocal leader that Mike Vrabel wants in the linebacker room. This makes a lot of money, right, for what he's been giving them. Signed Sione Takitaki last offseason because I think they were trying to add more talent to this linebacker room. And I think, Sione Takitaki is a very good run defender. I think he could easily replace Juwan Bentley. But again, cutting Juwan Bentley is not needed, but I did end up cutting him just because I could save money. If I'm Mike Vrabel, I'm going into this completely changing the culture and moving on from a lot of the guys that are either overpaid or it's not worth the capital that they could get when they re-sign them. So with the restructures, I did no restructures, so $0 million added to the restructures. So we're now at $142 million. We saved $22 million in those cuts and trades. So now at 142, which might be the highest cap space for a team in the modern era, right? Like, it's not even for an expansion team. Like, I need to go back and look at this, but I don't think I've ever had a team have $142 million. I think the Colts a few years ago had 120 or 110. I know they got really close to this number, but I think 142 might be the most I've ever seen. So re-signings of guys that are free agents. Who do I get ready to re-sign? I am re-signing Austin Hooper. He had 45 receptions, 476 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He's a solid veteran receiving tight end and is a pretty effective blocker as well. He helps Drake Maye have continuity, because I think that is one big issue when you fire a head coach and offensive coordinator 1 or 2 years into a rookie contract. A rookie quarterback. Continuity is an issue, right? They need guys that are around them that know the quarterback and how he plays, and the quarterback knows how they play. Wide receivers gonna have a massive turnover this offseason. I fully expect that, and I expect over the next 2 years, the offense as a whole is gonna have a massive turnover. So let's re-sign Austin Hooper, who Drake Maye saw success with at tight ends. Have a guy that he knows how he runs routes. He knows how he catches the ball, how he runs his route. That's what I think is most important for Drake Maye. So Austin Hooper re-signing 2 years, $11 million, $7.5 million guaranteed. That is 75% guaranteed. Again, veteran option at tight end. I think have Drake Maye have a guy who knows how to, he knows when to throw him the ball in a route. That's what I'm trying to get at. So Austin Hooper again re-signed at tight end. Next, we have Deatrich Wise, the defensive end for the Patriots. This past season, 11 tackles, 5 sacks, 20 pressures. He's still a solid veteran pass rusher. I don't think he's, a premier pass rusher. He's definitely a rotation guy. But for a veteran, in 11 tackles, having 5 sacks and 20 pressures, he's still an effective pass rusher. Honestly, he's a very good option for, a young defensive line that we're going to be rebuilding over the next year or two. Bring him back. He knows the Patriot way. He's been a Patriot his entire career. Same thing as, Juwan Bentley earlier. But I think Deatrich Wise, because he's a free agent, you can talk yourself into coming him back. He averaged only about 24 snaps a game, and he still had 5 sacks. So he's a very good run stopper, very good pass rusher for, the 24 snaps a game. He's not a guy that needs to play 60 snaps to get into a rhythm. He can just come in, give you good pressure rates, and then go home, right? I don't see why we can't run it back to Deatrich Wise. 1 year, $6.5 million guaranteed. I think that's pretty fair. So that's all the re-signings I'm going to be doing. A lot of this team, again, there's a reason that they had for almost the entire season the #1 overall pick. They're not a good team, so I don't really want to keep a lot of guys. I don't want to re-sign a lot of guys. So in free agency, we have $132 million. So let's hit some of the key free agents and their free agency spots. So starting off, we have Ben Bredeson, who played guard for the Buccaneers this past year. He had a 56 PFF grade, 60 pass blocking, 54 run blocking grade. He only allowed 2 sacks on one of the most pass-heavy teams in the NFL in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He played top 10 in snaps at O-line as well, so he was very healthy into the entire season. He helped Bucky Irving break out. I think he can help Tyrone Tracy the same way. And I can see him, not Tyrone Tracy, that's the Giants. I saw him with the Giants insignia, sorry. Ramondre Stevenson. He can help Ramondre Stevenson continue to play well. And I can see him being a great value pick. I think he can easily come in and jump from a 56 to a 65, right? Because I do think that Ramondre Stevenson overall has a higher ceiling than, not Bucky Irving, really, but Rachaad White, for example. The way that Ramondre Stevenson is a power back, run downhill, I think Ben Bredeson is a good guard to complement that. But I gave him a 2-year, $10 million contract, $6.75 million guaranteed. That is 67% guaranteed, just over that 65% I always try to hit. But Ben Bredeson, come in, play right guard for me. I think that'd be really good for them. Next, we have Dylan Raduns, 57 PFF grade, 64 pass blocking, 54 run blocking. He had a rough season in Tennessee, but Mike Vrabel was part of the staff that drafted him and developed him. So I think, he never got benched by Mike Vrabel, so Mike Vrabel obviously believes in him and thinks he can play well. He did allow 6 sacks, so I do think he'll be on the cheaper side, because once you allow that many sacks, you're not going to get the big-time contract. I think this can now let Mike Onwenu move back out to right tackle, right? You have Ben Bredeson at right guard, Dylan Raduns at left guard. Mike Onwenu is one of my favorite underrated tackles when he played tackle. They moved him in the guard the past year or two. Move him back out to tackle. I think Mike Onwenu can still have the movement to play tackle. So you have Dylan Raduns play guard, Ben Bredeson play guard, and boom. You now have improved 3 different offensive line positions for dirt cheap. You now improved right tackle. You go from Vidarian Lowe to Mike Onwenu. You improve guard. You go from Cole Strange to Ben Bredeson, or more veteran. And Dylan Raduns replaces Mike Onwenu. Or Dylan Raduns and Cole Strange fight it out for a guard position. That can also happen as well. So it was 1 year. It was 1 year, $2.5 million. You fully guarantee it. I do see him making the roster, so fully guaranteeing it. Next, we have Joe Noteboom, the tackle from the Los Angeles Rams. He had a 60 PFF grade, 47 pass blocking, 71 run blocking. He did get beat up by Alaric Jackson this past season. Joe Noteboom was struggling early on, so they put Alaric Jackson, and the job never went back to Joe Noteboom. He's a veteran who's played a lot of ball, a lot of snaps. I think you can get him for cheap to start because, him getting beat out by a younger tackle is definitely something worth note. But if Alaric Jackson actually gets priced out of the Rams, I do think that Joe Noteboom could return to the Rams and be the cheaper option compared to Alaric Jackson. But, if they do keep Alaric Jackson, Joe Noteboom's going to walk. I think you can get him for pretty cheap. Don't see a big free agency signing at the offensive line. I think you have to draft a star O-lineman and then go with the veteran options and just build out a solid group. So 2-year, $10.5 million, $6.5 million guaranteed. That is 60%. That is just below the 64 and 65% I try to hit. So Joe Noteboom, Dylan Radunes, David Andrews, Ben Bredesen, and Mike Awanu would be the new offensive line starting for the New England Patriots. That's a new O-line. Congratulations, you just got even better. Then the number one sign that everyone is talking about is T. Higgins. This has to happen. 73 receptions, 911 yards, 10 touchdowns this past year at the Bengals. Get him here. In New England, he could get 150 targets a year. I think he had 95 targets. I didn't write it down anywhere, but I remember it was just shy of 100 targets. He had 73 receptions. So let's just say it was 100 targets, 73 receptions. That is a 73% completion percentage when targeting T. Higgins. Let's do 150 divided by 73. Yeah, there we go. So that'd be 105 receptions he'd get. So if we just added 50 targets to his game, it would add another 40 receptions about to his game. That's a lot more yards, a lot more touchdowns. I could easily see him getting that many targets if he was with the Patriots. You can pay him the most average per year and the most guaranteed. You have $140 million after the cuts and trades. Pay the man. I paid T. Higgins the number one money in the NFL at 5 years, $192.5 million, $145.3 million guaranteed at 75%. And not only do you get T. Higgins, but you screw over the Bengals by making this the contract that Jamar Chase has to build off of. If I'm the Bengals, I'm literally saying the very first day of free agency, T. Higgins, come here for this contract, and now you might have outpriced the Bengals for Jamar Chase, right? You screw over an AFC competitor. So if I'm the Patriots, you can pay T. Higgins this money, and your cap space won't even be affected for the next 5 years, right? Like, you're going to have about $100 million in cap space for the next 5 years during Drake May's contract on his rookie deal because of how little you're paying other guys on the team. So get your wide receiver one. Get the dude who can run the routes, catch the balls. Like, yeah, it's insane. A $38 million signing bonus. Base salary gets up to $35 million. It goes from 35.6 to 42.6. I see this as the contract that the Patriots have to sign day one. And this not only guarantees you a wide receiver one that you can basically guarantee is going to get, $150 target a year for the next 2 or 3 years. You get a dude who knows how to win. Like, since joining the Bengals, T. Higgins has been so good. He's been one of my favorite wide receivers in the league. I'm very excited to see what he can do for a team where he's the true number one wide receiver. So yeah, 5 years, nearly $200 million. Next, we have DJ Jones from the Denver Broncos. 33 tackles, 1 sack, 25 run stops. He would be elite next to Christian Barmore. Like, this is the veteran presence on the defensive tackle room that I think they need to go after, right? You need to build this D-line up. You have a lot of young guys and a lot of veterans that are either mid or they're developing, so they're not good yet. DJ Jones comes in, elevates that D-tackle room day one, right? He had a great few years in Denver after leaving Seattle, I believe it was. You might not be able to pry him away, seeing as he is Denver's primary run defender, but if you're able to pry him away because of the guaranteed money, you got to do it, right? 2 years, $19 million, 13 and 3/4 guaranteed, 71%. So a little higher on the guaranteed money, but again, it's to come in and fix your defensive line day one. Then finally, the last guy we'll be talking about in free agency is Jordan Lewis. He had 52 tackles, 1 interception, 24 run stops. He's had a very good few years in Dallas, right? When Trey Diggs went down with an injury, Jordan Lewis became their cornerback number one, and he's been pretty solid, right? I see him walking due to the lack of money that Dallas is willing to give out. They let almost all their free agents walk last year. I think it could be a repeat of that this year because they have to pay Micah Parsons still. Him and Christian Gonzalez would be very good. Christian Gonzalez being that more boundary rover guy, with Jordan Lewis being the true outside boundary corner. Lets him roam around more, right? It lets Christian Gonzalez roam around more, with Jordan Lewis being that true number one corner that they're looking for. It's 2 years, $11.5 million guaranteed, 11.5 million, 8.25 guaranteed, with 71% of that being guaranteed. Again, it lets Christian Gonzalez be more what's the word? It's like it lets him be more free to play how he wants to play. Jordan Lewis allows that to happen. Honestly, if they sign any cornerback number one, it allows Gonzalez to be more free on the defense, flow with the defense as you can, because you have that boundary outside corner to take care of the wide receiver one. But yeah, those are my free agency signings I'm going to be talking about. As you can see, they still have $76 million. You want to keep about $9 to $10 million when you are drafting. So you have about $66 million of cap space to still sign other guys, right? Whether you want to sign another running back to go with Ramondre Stevenson, sign a better tight end, maybe, put more money into your offensive line day one. But I think it's going to be very hard to pry away the top offensive linemen because they want to win Super Bowls, right? Guys want to win the Super Bowls. So when it comes to teams like this, you have to find value in guys that either you can see getting better or are going to be at a better level than your team currently is. So that's what I do with the Patriots. So they have about $66 million to go out and sign more guys. But I don't want to go over every single signing, only the key ones I would go after. As for the draft, here's what I did with the 4th overall pick and on. So yeah, at number 4, grabbing Ted McMillan might be a little high in Ted McMillan, but for me, the Patriots have to fix a wide receiver core. So you have T. Higgins, you have Ted McMillan, you have Kayshon Boutte, you have, what's the one wide receiver I really like? Demario Douglas, right? Those are 4 wide receivers that are okay. As you can see, there's another one I take later on in the draft we'll talk about in a minute. But Ted McMillan can be a true outside boundary wide receiver. He's 6'5", 212 pounds. He can be moved all around the wide receiver spots just like T. Higgins can. So whether you want to have a power slot with Ted McMillan or T. Higgins with the other guy in the boundary, have both guys on the boundary, maybe in 11 personnel, you put both of them in the power slot position, and you put Demario Douglas and Kayshon Boutte on the outside. That could be fun to see as well. But 6'5", 212, he gets separation from route running, not speed like a lot of guys in today's game. He's a good route runner. He finds a soft spot against zone coverage. The only downside, in my opinion, of Ted McMillan, he's not super explosive off the line of scrimmage, and he's not fast, right? He plays more with technician than with pure athleticism, which isn't a downside. I want to make sure I say that here. That is not a downside. It's just a different way to play in today's NFL. So Ted McMillan at number 4, I think it's a good pick for the Patriots. You get a young star, you get an older star that you're paying a lot of money to, and then you can move on from there for Drake Maye. Get Drake Maye as much help as possible. Then at number 38, I'm grabbing a potential franchise tackle in Wyatt Millam. To me, he's a surefire first-round tackle, but if he does slide into the second, the Patriots need to take him here. Class is so deep that at number 4, I was willing to move off of Kelvin Banks or Will Campbell, because you can get someone in the second round like Josh Connerly, Amani Corley, I think his name is as well, from Oregon, Jonas Savenai from Arizona. Like, there's a lot of tackles in this class that could end up being good tackles. So I was willing to grab Ted McMillan, because wide receiver 1 is not as deep as a tackle position in this year's class. He's one of the best pass protectors in the class. He's still a very good run blocker. He's elite size at 6'6". He's tall, but he could add 15 to 20 pounds of muscle to anchor better. So while it's a good pick right now, you have Joe Noteboom, you have Mike Onwenu, you can let Wyatt Millam develop for a year or two, add more muscle, and then he can start in a year or two. Kevin Winston from Penn State in the 3rd round at safety. Kevin, he's an elite tackler who gets his nose dirty in the run game. He has really great speed. He's good in coverage. He's going to fight for a starting spot day 1, in my opinion. I do think he can get beat in the middle of the field a little too much because he loves stopping the run, right? So if he's playing box safety, you might want to have a linebacker shadowing him just in case Kevin Winston does bite a little too much initially and lets a guy get behind him. Have that free safety, know that, like, hey, if Kevin bites a little too much, your responsibility now is to get a shift to if he does get beat. But Kevin Winston, I do think it is deserving of a top 70 pick. I like Kevin Winston, at Penn State in the playoffs. I thought he played pretty solid. But Kevin Winston at 69, I think it's a pretty good pick. Then at 77, grabbing my guy, Derek Harmon from Oregon, one of my favorite D tackles in this class. He's a true elite nose tackle. He's great at getting in the backfield as well. Really good at getting TFLs. He could get better at pass rushing, but for me, when you take up running lanes, that's fine, right? I'd rather you take up you be really good at one thing and then we can develop the other thing alongside your really good thing, right? Really good run stopper. We can develop your pass rush a little bit more. You get a true starter in the middle of the D line in the third rounds. Barmore and Harmon in the future would feed New England families for the next 4 years. And obviously, I did sign DJ Jones earlier, so Derek Harmon does not need to start day one. He can develop for a year, be a rotation guy the first year, and then the year after, he can take over that starting spot from DJ Jones. Then Nick Nash at 104. Nick Nash, a Triple Crown winner from college football this past year. He's not great speed, but he's just consistent hands. He finds a soft spot in zone coverage. He's going to have the quietest 100-yard games you'll ever see. He's a 6'3", 200-pound slot receiver. So, again, another power slot guy. I like his potential in the NFL. A lot of guys are comparing him to Amon-Ra St. Brown, which I think is a fair comparison, right? A slot guy who has just consistent hands, gets open, but he's not going to be the true downfield elite number one wide receiver. But, he is a polished route tree for what he does run. So you now have Tet McMillan, T. Higgins, Nick Nash as your 3 starters, with Demario Douglas and Kayshon Boutte as your, 4 and 5 wide receiver. And then Nick Nash could move outside when T. Higgins and Tet want to come inside. But I think Nick Nash really is more of that true slot guy, right? Then at 155, you got a potential center of the future in Jonah Monheim from USC. He has experience all over the offensive line. He has 250 plus snaps at all but left guard in the last 4 years. And then he has 700 plus snaps at right tackle, left tackle, and center. He's 6'5", 310. I can see him fighting for a starting job in the weak O-line interior, but I think David Andrews would win that battle because he's a veteran. And then Jonah Monheim can develop and then maybe get the starting job next year if he can beat out whoever they bring in to compete with them. But again, sit behind David Andrews for a year is not a bad thing, right? David Andrews, one of the more underrated centers of the last 10 years. Then Teddy Buchanan from Cal. Buchanan, he's a great coverage linebacker. He was top 10 in coverage stops in college football this last year. He's a great tackler. The only downside, he can take really bad angles that cause bad missed tackles, right? Like when it's coverage, he's good. When it's run stopping, he just doesn't really know where to put his body and how to get to the guys more effectively than he probably should at this big old frame. Then 222 Shiloh Sanders from Colorado. Shiloh, he's not specifically amazing at anything, but I think he is an effective run stopper. He had a down season due to them moving him to free safety, like deep free safety, and he just whiffed. He doesn't have the speed to keep up with these guys. He's not as good as he should be at free safety, but I think they should move him back to strong safety. He had his best year when he played, I think it was like 80% if I did the math right. 80% of his snaps at strong safety last year, and he had his best collegiate season. And then they moved him to free safety for some reason. So I think move Shiloh back into strong safety. He can play effectively in the run game. I think it's effective. Then finally at 240, one of my other favorite D tackles is Thor Griffith from Louisville. Thor, he's been a very effective his entire college career when asked to play. He's a great run blocker. Definitely he's going to be more of a situational run stopper on goal line. That's going to be his main, probably NFL career. I don't see him ever being a starter. He is undersized, but on goal line, when you have 5 defensive tackles out there, Thor Griffith can go out there year one, absolutely, and be effective. Gave me a B+. I like that. I think the Derek Harmon grade's a little low, but the rest of the grades I'm all for. So yeah, that's my Patriots mock draft, and that's my Patriots offseason plan pre-NFL Combine. You get 2 wide receiver ones, you fix your offensive line, you get your defensive starters and replacements. You get a lot of hope for the future of the New England Patriots. And again, this is pre-NFL Combine, before I even know what the Patriots scheme is going to be, because Mike Vrabel has not hired any coordinators. So when I come back around to this series after the NFL Combine, when I'm shooting them out every single day, I'll be able to talk more in depth about the actual scheme presence. But if you guys enjoy, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified when I post next. Go click my link tree in the comments down below to follow me on everything. And I'll see you guys later. Peace and bye.